There comes a moment in every person's life when the weight of limitations, those imposed by society, circumstance, and especially the silent ones we place upon ourselves, begins to feel like a cage closing in. Rise Above Your Limits is a gentle yet powerful exploration of that internal prison and the path toward liberation. It does not speak loudly, rather, it whispers truth into the reader's heart, guiding them toward an inner awakening. The book unfolds like a spiritual journey, inviting us to look within, understand the roots of our fears, and learn the art of rising not by force, but by alignment with purpose, clarity, and self-belief. At the core of the book is a simple truth. Limits are rarely physical, they are mental, emotional, and deeply tied to the stories we tell ourselves. The author illustrates this with the life of Ian, a character whose journey mirrors the struggle so many of us live silently. Ian grew up believing that success was reserved for the fortunate few, that greatness belonged only to those born with talent or connections. His life was shaped by the voices he heard in childhood, voices that often said, "Stay within your boundaries, people like you don't go far." These words became walls around his mind long before he realized he had the power to walk through them. Throughout Ian's childhood and early adulthood, he lived by instinct, simply responding to events rather than consciously choosing a direction. His job felt dull, his days repetitive, and though he had dreams, he never dared to act on them. The book uses Ian's story to reflect how many people live on autopilot, believing that the life they see is the only life available. That belief, the author explains, is the first and greatest limit we must rise above. The turning point in Ian's life begins quietly, through exhaustion. He reaches a moment where his spirit can no longer tolerate the weight of unfulfilled potential. This moment of breakdown is described in the book not as a failure, but as a sacred opening. When the familiar becomes unbearable, the heart begins searching for something more. And in that searching, transformation begins. Ian meets an elderly mentor, someone who has lived the life Ian dreams of yet finds himself too afraid to pursue. Their encounters are woven with simplicity, small conversations over tea, gentle questions that linger long after the words fade. The mentor does not give him advice, he gives him awareness. And awareness, the author reminds us, is the beginning of awakening. One of the mentor's profound lessons becomes the spiritual backbone of the book. You do not rise by fighting your limits, you rise by understanding them. The book explains that most limitations come from emotional scars, moments when we were told we weren't enough, experiences where failure embarrassed us, or times we compared ourselves to others and concluded we were lesser. These moments form invisible chains. And yet, healing begins only when we face them with compassion rather than judgment. The story returns again and again to this theme. Self-growth is not about force, but about gentle acceptance followed by intentional action. The narrative then shifts into deeper psychological and spiritual insights. Readers are invited to look at their own lives, to remember the dreams they abandoned and the beliefs that held them back. With every chapter, the author interweaves reflections, reminding us that rising above limits is a deeply personal journey, different for everyone, yet guided by universal principles. One key principle in the book is clarity of desire. The author explains that most people feel stuck not because they lack ability, but because they lack clarity. They want change, but they don't know what kind of change. They want success, but they haven't defined what success means for them. Ian, too, struggled with this confusion. His mentor guided him not by asking, "What do you want in life?" but by asking, "What makes you feel alive?" This question, simple yet profound, becomes a turning point in his transformation. As Ian begins to identify what truly energizes him, he experiences a shift. The book describes this beautifully. When your life aligns with your inner truth, courage begins to rise naturally. It is not forced, it is awakened. Ian discovers that his passion lies in teaching and inspiring others, a dream he had buried under practicality and fear. Yet once acknowledged, this dream begins to breathe. Another major lesson in the book centers on taking small, consistent actions. The author explains that most people never begin because they imagine the journey is a massive leap. But rising above limits is not about leaps, it is about steps, small, steady, courageous steps. Ian starts by teaching a few children in his neighborhood, sharing knowledge he once thought insignificant. The book captures the beauty of these humble beginnings, reminding us that greatness often grows out of simplicity. Fear remains a constant companion in Ian's journey. The book does not pretend that fear disappears, it teaches that transformation happens alongside fear. Through his mentor's guidance, Ian learns to use fear as a mirror rather than an enemy. Every time fear arises, he asks himself what it is protecting, what story it is repeating, and what truth lies beneath. In doing so, he begins to rise not by ignoring fear, but by walking with it. Spiritual depth enters the story as the mentor introduces the idea that the universe responds to intention. When a person becomes aligned with their purpose and moves with sincerity, opportunities begin to appear in unexpected forms. Ian experiences this directly when strangers begin recommending him, invitations arrive from places he never contacted, and his teaching gradually becomes a recognized work. The author explains that this is not magic, it is the natural flow of a life lived in authenticity. The book also explores the importance of letting go of the need for approval. One of Ian's biggest internal battles is his fear of judgment. He worries what people will say, how they will perceive him, whether he is good enough. The mentor teaches him a powerful truth. No one is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Everyone is busy with their own insecurities. This realization frees Ian in a profound way. He learns to live for his purpose, not for the opinions of others. As Ian grows, the narrative reveals how rising above limits is not just about success, it is about becoming whole. It is about healing old wounds, silencing inner doubts, and embracing the courage to live authentically. The reader is guided to understand that the journey is not linear, there are setbacks, moments of confusion, and times when fear resurfaces. But each step forward expands the boundary of what is possible. By the end of the book, Ian becomes a reflection of what the author hopes the reader will aspire to. Not perfect, not fearless, but awakened, aware, and aligned. His transformation symbolizes the universal journey of rising beyond the mental and emotional walls we build around ourselves. He learns that limits lose power the moment we choose to believe in a possibility greater than our fears. The final chapters become a gentle, spiritual call to action. The author encourages readers not just to understand the lessons intellectually, but to embody them. We are reminded that every life contains unrealized potential. Every heart carries dormant dreams. And every soul has the ability to rise, if only we choose to begin.